Here, check this out.
Roy, what's wrong?
I had a nightmare. I was with an old man. He put a helmet on me.
It's just a fever.
Do you ever wonder if when you die, it turns out that you were actually just in a coma the whole time and it's you waking up from the coma? Or maybe you're just part of some virtual reality space created by other virtual beings in order to observe how life started. Or if after dying you return to some other reality you're not even conscious of, and your whole life is a meaningless experience for the joy of something else.
55 years. Not bad, Morty. You kind of wasted your 30s, though, with that whole bird-watching phase.
Where's my wife?
Morty, you were just playing a game. It's called Roy. Snap out of it. Come on.
Season 2's second episode of Rick and Morty continued exploring the interstellar world and multi-dimensional aspects of the show, with its special dose of existential humor. It's a fantastic entry into the series with the Jerry Burry and his questions of right versus wrong. I'm Dave Klein, and let's take a deeper dive into Mortynight Run. Mortynight Run was both inspired by and named after the classic buddy action comedy of Midnight Run. It also happens to be the first episode with Morty in the title, whereas prior episodes had used Rick's name, such as Rick Potion Number 9, Rick Steve Minutes, or Rickle in Time. In Midnight Run, Robert De Niro plays a bounty hunter enlisted to capture Jonathan the Duke Mardukas, played by Charles Grodin. Hijinks ensue with Mardukas constantly trying to escape from De Niro, and the two entangled between the mob and the FBI. At the start of the episode, Rick and Morty drop off Jerry at what's essentially a Jerry daycare center, Jerry Burry, which was founded by a different Rick from our main protagonist of Dimension C-137. And speaking of Dimension C-137, when Rick fills out his form to drop off Jerry, we see confirmation that Rick is from this dimension. Jerry's dimension, meanwhile, is listed as not applicable. We know Jerry of presumably C-137 is off fighting Cronenberg monsters of his dimension, and our titular Rick and Morty had to escape to another dimension. So it's unclear if this means that Rick doesn't know exactly which dimension they ended up in, or if Jerry was swapped at some point. Or Rick just doesn't care. I mean, that's a pretty strong possibility too. That or the writers just didn't feel like figuring it out. The list of reasons for Rick to drop off Jerry are hilarious, with the only options being Earth under siege, threatened to tell Beth, unwanted stowaway, or, of course, annoying me. The waiting room at the Jerry Burry faintly plays a song in the background which sounds suspiciously like human music from Season 1's M. Night Shyamalan's.
And now, here's human music.
Human music. I like it.
Well, look at this fella. Aren't you handsome?
Thank you.
This starts off the B story, which involves Jerry hanging out at the Jerry Burry and meeting all different kinds of Jerrys from various dimensions, and Paul Fleischman, Beth's husband from a timeline where she remarries. Inside of the Jerry Burry are all things Jerry likes, with golf, the Titanic, typical dad jokes like insisting on fixing the TV, summer, referenced through a slide, a Morty shoe rack, and a fake Beth who proclaims to love him and directly references the inspiration for this episode.
I love you, Jerry!
Aw, Beth.
Who wants to come watch Midnight Run with director's commentary on?
Yeah, definitely.
First one there gets to adjust the picture settings!
The factory tent setting is always too high!
In the room where there's a number of lost Jerrys whose Ricks and Mortys never return for one reason or another, there's a Hungry for Apples poster referencing the Season 1 episode M. Night Shyamalan's, where Jerry comes up with the slogan, Hungry for Apples, which is a huge success in the fake simulation world, and leads to his firing in the real world. At the end of the episode, there's a Jerry switch making it even more unknown which Jerry is in the rest of the show. Or is it?
Hey, wait, do you have 5126? I'm not sure. Morty. That's a Blips and Chits ticket.
What?
Way to go, Morty. Whatever.
Wait, what?
So if we rewind the episode to the point where Rick gets his ticket from the Jerry Burry, we can actually read the numbers on the ticket and see that it is in fact 5126. So if the second Rick had a 5126 by accident and was trying to get rid of him, they now have the correct Jerry, and if he took 5126, then wrong Jerry. So it's still not totally clear, but I'll let you decide what you think is the correct answer here. For the A story of the episode, we follow Rick and Morty as Rick sells a gun to an overenthusiastic hitman, Kermbopulous Michael. When Morty tries to take Rick to task over this, Rick instead insists on using his newly begotten money to play games at Blips and Chits, what's likely a play on Dave & Buster's. In the background, you can actually spot a Mr. Meeseeks helping out another alien with an arcade game. As Rick is about to play Roy, we see the alien cheering over beating the arcade game and the Mr. Meeseeks proudly disappearing. In the DVD commentary, it was stated that there was apparently an internal debate as to if Rick invented the Meeseeks or if he just happened to find a Mr. Meeseeks box. This, at the very least, solved that the race of Meeseeks wasn't invented by Rick. As Rick is distracted playing Roy, Morty decides to chase after Crumbopulous Michael on his own, only to discover the intended hit, a gaseous, other-dimensional being Rick dubs Fart. Fart is played by Jermaine Clement of the popular New Zealand comedy musical duo Flight of the Conchords. In the commentary, it's revealed that David Bowie was first approached for this role. This is especially apparent whenever Jermaine sings Fart's songs, as they would seem to be sung specifically in the style of David Bowie, similar to his own spoof on David Bowie, Bowie in Space.
This is Bowie to Bowie. Do you hear me out there, man? This is Bowie back to Bowie. I read you loud and clear, man. Who, yeah, man? All the moon men want things their way, but we make sure they see the sun.
The visuals of his song Goodbye Moon Men resemble the 80s animation Malice in Wonderland by Vince Collins and seems to be inspired by it, especially in the portion where Morty's face flips inside out. Although, being the nerd that I am, it really reminds me of Mob Psycho 100's opening, which released afterwards. Meanwhile, the beginning of the song resembles the animation from the music video for Blockhead's The Music Scene. Specifically when Morty's skin peels off at the beginning, it looks just like this moment from the music scene. Rick, Morty, and Fart escape away to Gearhead's place, a character first met in Season 1's Rick's Deep Business, in order to get Rick's space cruiser fixed.
Your Geldon converter is pretty dinged up.
That's because my grandson drives like a male Obravidian. Yeah, I said it.
Obravidian here probably being a made-up alien race. While Gearhead works on Rick's space cruiser, a TV in the background plays clips from both Gazorpazorpfield and Ball Fondlers. Both of these shows debuted in Season 1's episode Rick's Deep Minutes as shows on interdimensional cable. Gearhead ends up betraying Rick for the ransom on all of their heads, leading the trio to escape to another planet. As they land on the planet, you can briefly see that they enter into what would seem to be a prime alien picnic spot. Here we see Rick loading his cruiser with green glowing rocks from the planet. One of these rocks has a bright purple crystal and/or parasite on it. We end up seeing these green glowing rocks once again 2 episodes later in Total Recall.
Rick, I don't like glowing rocks in the kitchen trash.
Well, I don't like your unemployed genes and my grandchildren, Jerry.
This time, there's a couple of the crystals on the rocks. The episode Total Recall involves an alien parasite infesting the Smith-Sanchez household, so it's been theorized that the parasite was brought in from these crystals.
This is a big one. Somebody probably tracked it in last week on the bottom of their shoe or on a piece of alien fruit.
Someone?
Dan Harmon acknowledged this theory on the DVD commentary of the episode and remarks that he had no idea about it until watching YouTube video breakdowns about the show. Dan, are you watching me? Can you send me a sign? That said, by the way Dan was talking about it, it seems like this was entirely unintentional. However, they seem to really enjoy the theory and accept it as a possibility. In the end, Morty finds out that Fart intends to destroy all carbon-based life forms with his fellow Fart aliens. So Morty finishes the job intended for Crumbopulous Michael and kills Fart himself, realizing that his peaceful intent had resulted in the deaths of countless others. Which wraps up the A story of this episode. How long do you think you would survive as Rory? Or are you living in a virtual simulation right now and everything around you is fake and everything is a lie? Think about it.